Welcome back. It's your friend, Mel. I'm so thrilled that you're here with me. I'm telling you the story about this random night that our daughter sang her new song, Pastime, at Carnegie Hall and the 4 life lessons I learned. We've covered 2 already. Number 1, it's not that deep. You got to use that as a phrase to unhook you when you start getting deep in the emotions and you feel paralyzed. You can also use that to push somebody that you love through their emotions and get them going toward what they want. Second, the power of a good scream. Do not keep that pressure in. Give yourself permission to release it. Whether it's a scream, a cry, a sigh, a hug, stop bottling it up and take control. Now, let's move on to lesson number 3, which is give someone your pants. I know it makes no sense. It will in a minute. But we are now at the part of the story where we're at Carnegie Hall. The elevator doors have opened up. We're on the 2nd floor where all the rehearsal rooms are, and the artists are milling about. And all of a sudden, this woman walks by, and she is the epitome of cool. And just this woman that looks like an artist. You know, she's got the coolest clothes on and this cool aura about her. And she was wearing like a black leather jacket and a black t-shirt and these super cool big glasses. And she's got this awesome kind of shaggy, long haircut. And she has her younger daughter with her, and she's got on these insanely cool pants. They were these black pants that were kind of high-waisted, and they fit kind of just right over the hips. And then they went out like these huge, not even bell bottoms, because you know what it looked like? It looked like a ball gown. You know how a ball gown that you would wear to a big fancy event or something that you would expect a Disney princess to wear, like some big gown at the bottom? It looked like that, only when she started walking, you realized, oh my God, those are pants. How freaking cool is that? And so Kendall turns to me and says, oh my gosh, I think I know that lady, because I think she was at the Newport Folk Festival. I recognized not only her, but I think she was wearing those same pants at the Newport Folk Festival, because I remember seeing her with some of the artists who are playing at the piano recital with me tonight. And I think she was wearing those same pants. And I was like, oh, we got to find out who makes those pants. And then all of a sudden Phil's like, dude, no, we got to go play our song. And so we go into the rehearsal room, and this was like a super cool moment. Like, Kendall and Phil were at the piano in this tiny little room, and I'm crouched down in the corner, and here they are working out the piano arrangement of her song. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon at Carnegie Hall on the 2nd floor. I could have sat crouched in the corner, staying out of their way, just listening to them forever. It was so cool to watch 2 wildly talented musicians just work and speak this language that I have no idea how people do that. It's like fascinating. And before we knew it, it was 5:30, and it was time for Kendall and Phil to go downstairs to the stage at Carnegie Hall and do their sound check. And before we got there, I had been told all these things about Carnegie Hall, like they're super strict. They will kick you out if you try to film. And so I was very cautious about taking any photos or doing whatever. And, you know, here we go down the elevator again, and then we get on the 1st floor and we walk into the holding area backstage at the main stage at Carnegie Hall. And as we walk backstage, this woman with a headset and a clipboard comes up. She's running the show. And it turns out she's a huge fan of this podcast. Oh my God. And so she gave me a huge hug, and I'm like, universe, thank you. And she lets me sit on the stage against the wall so I could watch the rehearsal. So I sat on the stage at Carnegie Hall when the theater was completely empty. And I got to watch everybody warming. It was like the coolest thing. And the lights were like purple and blue, and just the majesty of this. I don't even know if that's the right word. There was just so much spirit that was present in that room. And so Phil went first, and, you know, you could hear everything. It was like when, you know, somebody walked up to the piano, and Phil went up first, and he played his first song a little bit, and I want you to just hear, you can kind of hear the echo and the spaciousness of this rehearsal. And as Phil was playing, the woman with the cool pants came over. She literally came on stage and she sat down and we started talking. She had her 5-year-old daughter there with her. And we were talking about how she's friends with a bunch of the musicians and that she just loves music and she was in town for work. And, I didn't know who she was yet. And I'll get to that in just a minute. And, I lean over and I'm like, by the way, I have to tell you, your pants are unbelievable. Where did you get your pants? And she kind of laughed and threw her head up in the air. And she's like, oh my God, if only these pants could talk. I have had these pants for 20 years. I laugh. I call them the traveling pants because they have been all over the world. Girlfriends have borrowed them. People have, asked to use them. I just love these pants. And I'm like, well, who makes them? She's like, I have no idea. The tag fell out years ago. I keep threatening to copy the pants and make a pair of pants, but I just, she just kind of went on about the pants. So then she switched the topic and she's like, is that your daughter? Because now Kendall was walking up to Phil, who had just finished up, his kind of mic check. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, it must be so thrilling to see your daughter perform here at Carnegie Hall. And I nodded and I could feel the tears coming up. And then Kendall and Phil started their sound check. I don't think I took a breath for 5 minutes straight. I just sat in awe that we were here. And after they finished, Kendall and Phil walked over and Kendall started talking to this amazing woman with the pants. And it turns out her name is Leanne Ford. And I did not know this at the time, but you may know her because she has a show on HGTV. She's a famous interior designer. I mean, she looks like somebody who would design pottery and furniture. And she happened to be in town because she was releasing a new line with Crate and Barrel. I mean, how freaking cool is this? So now I'm realizing, oh my God, this person's like not only looks cool, but she's doing so many cool things. And so Kendall walks over and she goes, so Ken, what are you going to wear tonight? And Kendall said, I'm not sure. I've got a bunch of stuff I borrowed from my roommates, but I really don't know what I should do. And she said, well, you got to wear something fabulous. I mean, it is Carnegie Hall. And Kendall just casually said, I wish I had time to run to a store. I mean, I don't really love everything I have. I mean, I wish I had something fabulous like what you're wearing right now. And that was that. We chatted for a few more minutes. We said goodbye. I went back to the hotel. Kendall went back up to the rehearsal room with Phil. I wished her luck. And I thought that was going to be it. And then I get a text from her. And she says, you have to come over. It's 7:30 now. Doors open at 8 o'clock. You have to come over. Something incredible just happened. I'm like, do you need anything? She's like, no. Just come. So I go racing down the elevator, out the front door, to the stage door, back up the elevator, to the second floor. I'm now in the little room that they were sitting in. And I open up the door and she's like, Mom, you're not going to guess what happens. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, the pants. I'm like, what pants? And then I look at her. She's wearing the cool ballroom skirt pants. I'm like, what? Turns out, a couple hours after the conversation on the stage, Leanne came to her room, knocked on the door, and gave Kendall the pants she had been wearing. And she handed her this extraordinary note about wearing the pants with love and joy, and wishing her all of this success and congratulations about this moment, and then ending it by saying, and when you're ready, here's my address. Just send them back with love. She literally gave my daughter the pants she was wearing. She went back to her hotel, changed out of those pants into something else, came back to Carnegie Hall, wrote a note, and handed them to my daughter to wear on stage. It is one of the most kind and generous gestures I have ever seen a woman do for another woman. It's not about the pants at all, is it? She took her pants off and gave them to my daughter with love. And I want to pause here and ask you, what if you lived your whole life like that? What if your possessions were not yours to have, but yours to give and to lend to others, to lift them up? That the pants that you're wearing right now as you hear my voice or you watch this on YouTube, that they could be a gift to somebody. You know, I didn't get a chance to thank her in person. I was so moved by it and by just how beautiful they looked on Kendall. It was like Cinderella's slipper. I mean, they fit her perfectly. And the heels that Kendall was wearing were the perfect height so she didn't trip on them. And I was so moved that I just had to reach out to her. And so the only way that I knew to reach out to her was to DM her on Instagram. And I want to read you the exchange that we had. I wanted to say thank you. You giving Kendall your pants to wear last night was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced a woman doing to support another woman. It was such a kind and generous gesture on so many levels. And then I told her that I was going to get them dry cleaned and get them FedEx back to her safe and sound and, you know, just acknowledge her for being super cool. And by the way, so is your collection at Crate and Barrel. You know, we got to lift each other up. You know what I'm saying? Wait till you hear her response. She was like, nah, honestly, it wasn't even a question in my mind. Feel free to take those pants for a spin too, because I believe you said you have a big speech coming up. So many thoughts, Mel. One, Kendall did the most incredible job. Wow. I felt so thrilled for her and for my pants. Her look was worthy of the magnitude of the event. Though I was thinking the entire time, don't trip, which is my norm in those puppies. But what I've been thinking about all day, and something that I honestly will not soon forget, was watching a mom, you, watch her daughter prepare to sing on stage at Carnegie Hall that afternoon. Maybe it was the fact that I was sitting there with my own daughter and feeling this beautiful core life memory forming in her own little heart. But I can't describe what I was feeling at that moment enough to do it justice. Just that I felt such joy coming from you. And I felt such joy for you as a mother. Different than I was feeling for Kendall, even as the performer. It must have been emanating off of you. 'Cause man, oh man, I was picking up what you were putting out. The confidence you have created and supported in your daughter is obvious to all who meet her. And meeting you two together, I know why. May I give my daughter the same light you've given yours. Whew. I have been dying to tell you what happened when I was in New York City a couple weeks ago. The elevator doors close as she's going, come on. And the elevator goes down. My heart began to sink, and Kendall drops her head and puts her hands over her face. And then she pulls her hands by her side with two fists and lets out this blood-curdling scream.